Zachary as always, and today I am talking about the movie Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. This is the most recent Star Wars movie. Or is it? This might actually not be the most recent one. I don't know. It's the most recent one in the sequel trilogy, that is. It concluded the sequel trilogy poorly. But I think I like this more than most people do. Not that I think it's decent. It's more like a quarter decent. Let's leave it at that, in my opinion. Anyhow, so there's this part where Poe Dameron is they're on this sand type of planet. Okay, so it's another rip. So we're on another rip off of Tatooine, and I'm going to summarize it in 3 things. We see Lando in it. We see Rey. So yeah. And they fly now. That's all. So yeah, that's all I conclude that bit. We all think actually, when we figure out Rey has Force lightning and that she has Force healing abilities. So yeah. Which she shouldn't be able to do. See, she should be able to do that. She should not be able to use Force Lightning because it's one of the strongest abilities in all Star Wars. And I know she's Palpatine's daughter and it's a whole thing. But still. I mean, anyway, so also, Poe Dameron does nothing here. I'm going to conclude Poe Dameron's whole character in 2 different lines in this movie. Oh, no, 2 different quotes, actually. Number 1 quote, they fly now. Number 2, somehow Palpatine returned. That's what Poe Dameron did in this movie. He said 2 things. Well, that's basically summarizes what he did in this movie. He really didn't do a lot. Then again, none of the characters really did a whole lot. But anyways, so they, at one point, they're at this bit with the Death Star, right? And there's remnants of the Death Star just in this part of the ocean. And she uses, and the heroes use, this little thing and hold it in front of them. And it just fits perfectly. But let me ask you this. How did they know it was going to fit that well? Now, I did think it was a little bit cool to get to see the inside of the Death Star and to see Rey actually in the throne room from the Return of the Jedi, I believe. And I think it was so cool to see. It's just the execution of how they got there and how they used their time on the Death Star that maybe just wasn't the best. Anyway, I thought it was so cool to see the Death Star. I don't care what people say. So Kylo and Rey have this fight, which leads to, it leads to Kylo getting very wet. That's not an exaggeration. He gets extremely wet because there's a bunch of water. And so yeah, we get to see Han Solo's we just get to see his ghost. The whole thing of if you get to be a ghost or not doesn't really matter. It's if your character serves the plot. That. Now, you get a ghost if you serve the plot. But, so there's this whole dynamic between Kylo and Rey, where Kylo and Rey can communicate on another level. They can communicate while being in completely different areas. They can basically know where each of them are, while being in completely different areas. At one point, he's in one place, but then they're in the same place, but then they're in different places, and it's just a whole thing, man. Yeah, so, and it's an okay sequence. We get to see Darth Vader's mask make a return. Or Kylo's Darth Vader's mask. And they fight over it. The mask explodes. Which I remember seeing this part in the trailer and being so psyched for this. I was like, yo, bro, what is that, man? because I was genuinely excited for this movie when it was first going to come out, and I remember seeing this bit in the trailer, and I was like, "Yeah, bro, this is gonna be awesome." And we obviously get to see the return of Palpatine, and well, let's just say he's not doing too well. And he quotes something that he said in Revenge of the Sith. And well, I guess it's pretty cool. I love the way that they introduced Palpatine in this movie. I absolutely love it, man. So, Kylo's walking in, right? And then he sees these tubes that Snoke is in. He turns and he hears this voice. And everyone knows who it is. It's Palpatine. And then he turns, and then we see Palpatine's face. There's a flash of lightning. While Palpatine is saying unnatural, and it flashes on his decayed, absolutely disgusting face. Yeah, you know what else is unnatural? Somehow Palpatine returned. Okay, I'm done making that joke. So Palpatine's in this movie. He's the main villain. Kylo Ren is basically replacing Vader in this movie, except they. So remember on the original trilogy, Vader was Emperor Palpatine was Vader's master. Yeah, and that took over the course of 3 movies for that to turn out. In this movie, Kylo becomes the apprentice of Palpatine, and then he becomes good again. All in the same movie. But in the original trilogy, they did that over the course of 3 movies. But you know, I'm like 99% sure they were making this up as they went. So anyhow, a lot of things happen. Eventually, they rescue Chewbacca after they lose him on the They Fly Now planet. And the planet where Rey made this face. And yeah, so they rescue Chewie. And eventually, there's this and eventually back at the rebellion, they're like, "Dole Palpatine return, guys." And this is a little bit of an issue, you know. And so, you want to know what they do? I don't know, they kind of just fly to Exegol. And they just fly there. And then there's just this whole bunch of Star Destroyers, which I actually didn't mind. I mean, this was kind of a bad move by Palpatine on his part. There is all of these Star Destroyers just randomly placed, one on top of the other, with giant laser cannons under them. Gigantic laser cannons. And he put them right next to each other. That's not very good for combat or helping any other ships. I'm just saying, Palpatine, that's kind of a failure on your part. But anyways, so Palpatine, Kylo and Rey are on Exegol. They're about to face Palpatine themselves. But guess what? Kylo isn't good yet. He's still serving under Palpatine. But then Kylo's like, you know what? Maybe this Palpatine guy isn't all too good. Isn't all that good. So he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna change," and then he just kills a bunch of guards and stuff, and then Palpatine's like, whatever, and then Rey's also doing the same thing, and then Palpatine's like, "Screw you guys," so he sucks the life force out of both of them to turn into this and become less disfigured and become what we know as Emperor Palpatine. And not robot disfigured alien face man. And he turned into Palpatine. So then after this, Palpatine is restored. The life force is sucked out. You know, Kylo's kind of out until the end of the movie. And then we have Rey Skywalker. No! And then, alright, so then Rey Palpatine. And then Rey is, but then a bunch of Jedi voices just come into her head from other movies, and she's like, "Aha!" As she stands up, uses 2 lightsabers, freaking destroys, freaking wrecks Palpatine. He's just absolutely decimated. Like flesh is flying off of his face. It's a whole thing. I thought it looked pretty cool and everything. And then the Jedi, not the Jedi, the good guys win, bad guys lose. First Order extinguished. Palpatine lost. It was a whole space battle and everything. So I've talked about the movie, kind of. I've talked about the movie. Now I have to talk about what I thought I didn't like about the movie specifically. I didn't like how she defeated Palpatine. She has 2 lightsabers and walks towards him. Wow. Second, I just thought there was quite a problem with the writing here. And also, there's no way Rey was able to use Force Lightning. There's literally just no way. And I think the biggest problem, and a problem that everybody has with this movie, she calls herself Rey Skywalker. She is not. She's a Palpatine. Made me mad, man. So yeah. Also, this what really wasn't. And but something I haven't said yet is, I don't think this is the worst conclusion to the sequels. But now I don't think it's as bad as people say. I said that at the beginning of the video. Now I want to talk about things I liked. Something I think the sequels did specifically well is space fights. Guys, do you guys remember the one at the beginning of The Last Jedi? I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I think you can at least admit it was a little bit cool and kind of impressive. I don't know. I just thought the space battles in this movie were cool. And yeah, I have a bias here, but Palpatine is my most favorite Star Wars character. Just like my most favorite Star Wars character of all time. So I liked seeing him back here. And especially when the movie came out, I didn't have all the extra information I have on Star Wars that I have now. So I didn't really understand everything. So I don't know. I just loved seeing the return of Palpatine. I know a lot of people didn't. I liked how they introduced Palpatine in this movie by him being on Exegol, Kylo finding a map thing, he puts it into his ship, he gets there, and everything. Not gonna lie, I also think that that the return of the Death Star was actually really cool, and I loved to see that. And I loved to see the throne room and Rey being back in the throne room where Luke Skywalker once was, and having Kylo Ren and Rey face off in that room, kind of how Darth Vader and Luke faced off. Me quoting George Lucas right here, it's like poetry. They rhyme. Yeah, I know, I'm awesome. And then, yeah, I also think this movie isn't as bad as people say. I actually thought it was kind of good. And I also have a specific bias because I saw this movie in the theaters. And I remember being amazed by it. And now my appreciation of this movie specifically has gone down a lot. But I still think it's pretty good for what it was. It's an okay movie. I think it's just an okay movie. Out of 10, I would give this movie maybe a 5. 4.5 to a 5. A solid 5, but 4.5. I'm just going to round that up to a 5, though. Alright, so I'm going to rate for each category. In terms of fun, I'm going to give this movie maybe a 6.5. Yeah? For story, I am going to give this movie a 2.5. No. I'm just going to give this movie a solid 3. And then for, as a Star Wars movie, how does it hold up as a Star Wars movie? I don't know, maybe a 4? I don't know. And then, how they treated Palpatine, since he's the most powerful villain in Star Wars, pretty much. I think they handled him I don't know, maybe a 5.5 to a 6. Do I think they should have brought back Lando? I mean, not really. He didn't really do anything. In terms of how the side characters were used, the side heroes like Poe and Finn, I think they were criminally underused. Specifically Finn. Finn is the best character in the sequel trilogy, and they underuse him in every single one of them. It makes me mad. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to review this movie. If you all enjoyed this video or any of my other content, please